that is a ballsy hat to wear on
Why
a
would
random
you?
Tuesday.
Why would you wear it then?
If it's free, it's for me.
That is nope. Lou took his off. Why are we doing it? I should put one on. All right, guys, we got a lot of basketball to get to. We're gonna start the gentleman by the name of Steph Curry and his team, the Golden State Warriors. There he is. 31 points in 29 minutes, mind you. No Draymond, no Kuminga, no Horford for Golden State. Hield gets 20 points. It's been a very crazy year for the Warriors so far. Before this game, they'd lost 3 straight, which is a little bit crazy. But they sit at 10-9 through the first 19 games. That's another part of the story. The fact that they played 19 games is a little bit weird. But, Lou, I will start with you. When you watch this Warriors team play, are they closer to a championship level team or a play-in level team?
I don't think they're either right now. As it stands, I think they're a first round exit team. You look at them right now. As it stands, they're an 8 seed, right? And if they were to stay in that position, they got to match up with OKC in the first round. I don't see them beating OKC as it stands. So I would say they're a first round team exit. But we also know Golden State's DNA, right? Like, this is a team that's very intentional about getting into playoffs, getting a guaranteed spot. And trying to do everything they can to qualify for that. So I don't think this is a team that stays in that 8th spot. I think they do everything they can to get in that top 6 to get in the guaranteed spot. But as it stands today, I'm looking at them as a first round exit. I don't think they can get past OKC with the way they're built and the way that OKC is playing. So I got them right there in the middle. I don't think they're a championship contending team. I also don't think they're a play-in team. I think they're going to be one of those teams that try to put themselves in the mix, for a 6 seed or something guaranteed in that realm. But right now, I can't call neither one of those. As it stands, I would say they're a first-round exit team if that was their matchup, if it started today.
If I had to pick one of those, Lou, I gotta go play in. Like, you look at the Western Conference, I don't think they're as close to as good of a team as OKC. Same thing with Denver. Same thing with Houston. Like, those are championship expectation teams. I think the Warriors are dangerous. I think anytime you have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler on the floor, you have enough to win basketball games, and the way they play and the way they move and the way that Steph can just erupt like he's been doing this season. They're a dangerous out. But man, the Western Conference, we talked about it all season long. They are so good. It's so deep. It's so top heavy with those teams that are actual contenders. This team might end up in the play-in, and then they still are going to have to play OKC, Denver, or Houston if they're in that 6, 7, or 8 seed. So I think they're ways away from a contending team. I do think they have some assets that they can possibly move and better their roster and maximize that win now window with Steph, with Draymond, with Jimmy Butler. But if I had to pick one of those two, it's got to be closer to a play-in team than a contender in my eyes.
Yeah. But I just think that gray area is so crazy. Like, it's so much gray area between being a play-in team and being a championship contending team. Like, that's a lot of gray area. But if you feel like they're closer to a play-in, that's why I'm saying it's a gray area, because I can't agree with that. Like, we've watched them talk about, we got to get a 6 seed. We got to get one of those guaranteed spots. I don't think they're one of those teams that linger around, especially when you're still having success with no Draymond, no Kuminga, and no Al Horford. We know how old this team is. We know that they're on the latter side of their careers. But we've also talked about how competitive and the IQ that this basketball team has. So I can't put them in the play-in, especially with knowing that it's guys in and out of the lineup, and they're still trying to figure out who can be a consistent. Like, I look at Pods last night. He didn't have a great night, but I think he'll be more consistent moving forward. GP the second, he's playing good basketball for him. Buddy Hield is playing well off the bench. And you put all of those pieces together, I feel like they're a middle of the pack team. I really can't put play in on them, but I also don't see them as a contender for a championship either. So it's tough to really read at this point in the career.
Is it possible a play-in team wins a championship? Or we're getting way too.
Well, I mean, anything can happen. You got injuries, freaky things can happen. Like,
that can't
it's
happen,
not impossible.
I don't know about that one.
It's not. How about this? It's not impossible. There is a slight chance. Might be a small chance, but a slight.
I'll ride with that one. I'll ride with that.
Just a slight chance. What's kind of crazy too is if you think about last year, they were sort of floating around as well. And then the Jimmy Butler trade happened, and it was just like an injection of new energy, and everything felt fresh and great. And I'm wondering, Chandler, if you can look at this team and sort of maybe see that happening again. And obviously you mentioned the trade assets, and I know Kuminga's going to be front and foremost for that. Is that something we might be looking at? They might pull one of those again.
I think so. I think when you look at, I just feel like Kuminga's bound to get moved. It feels like it personality wise, it feels like it fit wise, it feels like it relationship wise. He feels like the scapegoat. That is not someone that's comfortable. It's not someone that pictures themselves long term in this organization, in the face of this organization. Again, I said this yesterday. We've heard pods talk about he wants the torch passed to him. Kuminga's got a much higher ceiling and has had a more productive start to his career. And you never heard him say anything close to that, being in Golden State, making that his team, taking over this franchise post Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler era. So I think he obviously he's the obvious one to move. I'd love to see Klay Thompson kind of get somehow back here. He doesn't seem to be doing anything, and I don't know if that moves the needle for Golden State, but I would love him back there, and I do think that he's shooting. Story. It would be feel good. Anthony Davis is a name you're hearing around. That would make sense of if he can be healthy, which again, it's a big if. That's a win now move that could kind of bump them from that play into more of a contender category. But I do think they're solid. They defend. Statistically, they're kind of just middle of the pack. They don't do anything elite. Just out of the top 10 defensive rating at 12. Offense, they need nights like Steph Curry had last night to be that much, that elite on that end. Because when you look outside, they don't really have that kind of scoring punch anywhere else outside of Jimmy Butler, who can kind of bully ball you off the block. It's still constant movement. And Kuminga is kind of their third best scorer, and he's getting DMPs, and he's not playing, and now he's hurt. So there's always going to be the big question mark around him. But I do see them making a big move because I think Mike Dunleavy wants to maximize this Steph Curry window before he's gone.
Let's keep talking about Steph Curry and that window. In last 5 games, last 5 of the 6, he scored at least 31. And in that, there's a 46 and a 49er, which is crazy. We love bests and worsts and lists, Lou. So best scoring point guard of all time. Will it be Steph Curry? Right now he's sitting there, third.
Yeah, I think before we were having this conversation about Steph Curry, another person that was going to be brought up as one of the dynamic scoring guards is Allen Iverson. And even Allen Iverson has passed the torch to Steph Curry, and he's bowed out and said, Steph Curry has did worlds of amazing things that I've been able to do in my career when it comes to scoring at basketball. So absolutely, yes. He's changed the game. He's changed the way that the kids play the game. He changes the way that these kids view themselves, and he's still going out and doing it at 37 years old. He's, it's not even an argument to say he's the best shooter in NBA history, but when we talk about just scoring a basketball, he doesn't get the credit for his finishing ability. He doesn't get the credit for who he is in the mid-range. We know who he is on a three-point. Like, he's a 3-tier scorer that can do it on every single level. And as a guy that stands at 6'2", 6'3", he's going to be one of those guys. Like, a lot of these kids, when I'm in these AAU gyms, a lot of these kids see themselves in Steph Curry. They see that as a style of play that they can mimic, that they can mock and put in their games and still be successful. He's been able to do that over the course of his career, so he's definitely going to go down as one of the best scoring point guards that we've ever seen, if not one of the best scorers, period, at any position that we've ever seen. 100,000% for sure. That's going to be Steph Curry when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we kind of put him in a box when we start talking about the shooting ability or point guard. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, regardless of position, regardless of his shooting ability. He is one of the greatest NBA players of all time. So yeah, I think he's the best scoring PG. I think he's the best PG. I think he's the best shooter. I think he's the best conditioned NBA player of all time. I think the list goes on and on and on of what he would rank number one at. And like Lou said, he's not this man-child prodigy kid, like dude that you can't relate to. He is the baby-faced assassin that kids can see themselves in, that kids can condition themselves to play like and move like. And obviously it's going to take countless of hours to shoot the ball like he does, because no one's ever shot the ball like he does. But you can relate to Steph Curry. And
Tonight, Warriors fans, buckle up, because what we are about to talk about could very well shape the next era of basketball in the Bay. A new wave is coming, a new spark, a new engine, and if the experts are right, the Golden State Warriors may be lining up the exact kind of explosive talent that this franchise has been missing since the days when Jordan Poole was dancing through second units and igniting crowds with instant offense. This is Warriors Nation News, and today we dive into the rising storm around Darius Acuff Jr., the freshman phenom who is suddenly becoming one of the most intriguing long-term targets for Golden State in the 2026 NBA Draft. Bleacher Report's Jonathan Wasserman released his latest 2026 mock draft, and he has the Warriors selecting one of the most electrifying scoring guards in college basketball. Darius Acuff Jr. might only be 18 years old, but he is already playing with the poise of a future NBA lead guard. Through his first 6 games at Arkansas, Acuff has been putting up 16.8 points, 4.3 assists, and 2.5 made threes per game, while showing a level of shiftiness, shot creation, and physicality at the rim that jumps off the screen. This is not just another prospect. This is a guard who can both run an offense and score in bunches, the type of dynamic perimeter creator that Golden State has been desperate to add behind Stephen Curry. At 6'3", Acuff profiles strongly as a pro-level point guard, but what stands out even more is how comfortable he looks both initiating the offense and creating separation off the dribble. Scouts are raving about how he manipulates defenders in ball screen action, how he controls pace, how he can rise into a jumper or explode downhill with authority. Wasserman writes that Acuff has shown elite shot-making and court vision in ball screen situations, combining physical finishing with unpredictable changes of speed and direction. That description alone sounds like a modern twist on the Jordan Poole role from the 2021-2022 championship season. Back then, Poole became the dual-mode guard who could play off Curry but could also act as the lead creator whenever the two-time MVP sat. That archetype is missing on this roster today. Chris Paul is gone. Klay Thompson's role no longer bridges that gap, and Jimmy Butler, as veteran and reliable as he is, should not be forced to run point for the second unit at his age or with his workload. The Warriors need young legs. They need a spark. They need someone who can take pressure off Curry while extending the life of this dynasty. Acuff checks every box, and the scouting world is already lining up behind him. 24/7 Sports ranked him as the 5th best prospect in the entire 2025 class, and Adam Finkelstein, one of the most respected voices in basketball scouting, called him the most dominant and dynamic lead guard in that class. That is not normal praise. That is franchise-shifting praise. But this story goes beyond a single prospect. This is about the Warriors' future, their trajectory, and their long-term planning as the Curry era eventually transitions into its next chapter. Right now, Golden State's second unit is struggling to generate offense whenever Curry hits the bench. The team ranks near the bottom of the league in bench scoring, offensive flow, and efficiency in non-Curry minutes. That is a major concern, especially as the Western Conference gets younger, faster, and bigger every season. Adding a guard like Darius Acuff could finally restore that punch that has been missing since Jordan Poole was traded, giving the Warriors a second-unit ball handler who can break down defenses instead of relying on isolation or slow-tempo sets. But that raises the question many fans are already asking. Should the Warriors be targeting size instead of another guard? Should they be looking for a rim protector, another big wing, or someone who can shore up their defensive issues at the point of attack? It is a valid question. And based on Wasserman's mock draft, there are several intriguing names in that conversation. One of them is the 7'3" center Ade Mara from Michigan, projected at number 23 in the same mock draft. Mara is leading the entire nation with 3 blocks per game and adding nearly 10 rebounds and 2 assists. That combination of size, instincts, and playmaking is extremely rare. Considering that Golden State ranks 23rd in the NBA in rebound rate and continues to struggle with interior defense, a player like Mara could immediately plug holes defensively while developing into a long-term anchor. Another option mentioned is Duke's 6'8" wing Dame Sarr, a raw but high-upside athlete who has impressed scouts with his spot-up shooting, transition finishing, and defensive potential at the point of attack. And let's be honest, the Warriors have been getting attacked mercilessly at the point of attack. Opposing guards get downhill too easily. Opponents target mismatches and weak ball pressure far too often. Adding a big wing with length, athleticism, and defensive versatility could be a game changer, especially if he develops his ball handling and decision-making. But here is where the conversation eventually comes full circle. Long-term needs versus short-term patchwork. If the Warriors find themselves picking in a position where Acuff is clearly the best talent on the board, then they should not overthink it. Talent wins. Talent sustains dynasties. Talent extends legacies. And the truth is that any rookie coming in during the 2026-27 season is unlikely to immediately transform the roster on day one. This pick is about the future. This pick could very well be about identifying the first real successor to Stephen Curry, someone who can learn under him, grow behind him, and eventually carry the mantle into the next generation. Akoff may not be the most physically imposing prospect in the class, but his feel for the game, his scoring instincts, his ability to create in tight windows, and his willingness to attack make him the type of guard who can thrive in the Golden State offensive system. Imagine him learning next to Curry. Imagine him in Kerr's motion offense, reading the floor, cutting, screening, pushing tempo, and developing chemistry with young players like Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. Speaking of Podziemski, his growth this season has been a massive bright spot. His passing vision, rebounding, and toughness have already earned him trust within the organization. Pairing Pods with Akoff in the future could form one of the most dynamic young backcourts the Warriors have had in years. Add Kuminga's athleticism, Trace Jackson-Davis's interior presence, Moses Moody's shooting potential, and soon enough you start to see the outlines of a future core forming under the final years of Curry, Green, and Butler. This is how franchises stay relevant. This is how dynasties transition instead of collapse. This is how the Golden State Warriors prepare for the future while still competing in the present. The Warriors are not just drafting to fill holes. They are drafting with identity in mind. They are drafting with purpose. And if Darius Akoff Jr. truly becomes available at their position, he might be the perfect mix of immediate spark and long-term potential. At the end of the day, Warriors fans, this scenario is not just wishful thinking. It is strategic alignment. It is a chance for the franchise to secure its next great guard while addressing key weaknesses across the roster. Whether they target scoring, size, or defensive versatility, the 2026 draft is shaping up to be one of the most important evaluations the Warriors have made since selecting Stephen Curry himself. Now the question is yours. What do you want to see the Warriors focus on in this upcoming draft? Should the team chase scoring, size, or defensive versatility? Should they prioritize the future or try to build around Curry for one more title push? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and subscribe to Warriors Nation News for more in-depth analysis, reactions, updates, and everything Golden State Warriors. The next era is coming, and it might start with Darius Akoff Jr.